Okay, the first thing Rory said to me when I arrived this morning was be diplomatic, because I've had to rewrite my speech. Some of you may be wondering why I'm here. Quite a few people, I suspect, may know me, but I'm a resident of Walcop. I'm an internet marketer. I was one of the very first in the country to set up an internet marketing company. Thanks for the plug this morning. And as a Cumbrian business, I'm going to plug my own books, which are available on Amazon, because Cumbria needs more businesses making more money. We are quite skint up here. 15 years ago, when I set up my business, I was trying to operate off a dial-up modem, and I realised pretty quick that this wasn't going to cut it. And I started nagging people in DTI, in Number 10, in anywhere I could find, basically, to sort it out. And at that time, broadband as a term didn't exist, and I was looking for T1 line, which I'd heard from some Americans was what I needed. And 15 years ago, most people thought I was completely mad, and that no one would ever need the sorts of speeds that I was talking about. And today I feel utterly justified for the last 15 years when people are saying here today that broadband is now the biggest issue in this country, above even affordable housing. So, having spent 15 years hassling, I've now ended up on this platform. I'm also a single mum with twins who, when I started this, used to sit on my knee and play with the mouse, pull the metal bits off my floppy disks, ruin everything. And this week, well, last week, they left home, and which is a huge relief, I have to say. But it's also quite a shame, because they can't do what they want to do in sixth form and at college in this county. And they could, one of them in particular, could have done what she wants to do if we had a good enough broadband connection, because I could have found her a tutor anywhere in the world. And I have a slightly sort of sinking feeling that Cumbria has just lost part of the next generation, because I suspect they might not come back. And so I want to sort of talk about how our communities are going to do all of this, and every single person in this room lives in a community, and so you can all replicate what we're doing up here. Walcop is a village of about 110 homes, but the parish has probably got 300 homes in. 2 doors down from me was born a chap called Ted Stone. He became Lord Glenamara, and he was head of Marconi. And in the 20s, he was fiddling around with wireless in my village, which is a bit coincidental considering my obsession with it all. And at the same time, our village were digging trenches for a water supply from the fells to the village, because we'd had a smallpox outbreak and we needed good water. And the village did that. And when they did the trenches, they thought, let's stick a water mill on and let's generate electricity. So Walcop had electricity before Manchester, because the village put it in. And everyone was allowed one light bulb, which at the time apparently was quite a luxury. And so our village has a history of having done this before. And this is the 4th utility. We don't have mains gas, but we have bottles, so that's fine. This is the 4th utility, and we're willing to do it again, as are many other rural communities around the country. And so, what I want to talk about really is Rory's plan for the digital village pump, because that's what we need, is this digital village pump, a fat pipe into the village, and the community will deal with the rest of it. We've done it before, quite good at it, and we'll do it again. So for me, the end game is fibre to the home and Fi-Wi. And Fi-Wi is fibre wireless, and that wireless bit covers all sorts of technologies, and it's quite important. I'm a bit worried today, actually. Someone was talking about next gen being, well, it's been defined differently, 10, 50, 100. Korea have a gigabit per second at the moment, so what you're going to call next gen when we need 1 gig? I think we're going to have to come up with some different terminology. And because other people have a gig already, the Pope's mate, one of them anyway, said the other day that we are a third world country. And as far as broadband is concerned, we really, really, really are. And I find that quite worrying. Rural areas are even more third world. Everyone gets confused about megabits and megabytes, hugely. So I'm going to simplify things. While we're talking about this digital village pump, we're going to change it to mega buckets, right? And you'll understand it, then you can't get it wrong, right? So, to represent this, I tried to find a mega bucket today in Reg Ed, and as in all rural areas, mega buckets are pretty hard to find. So, how about this? And this is what we need to start with, is megabits to the village pump and then outwards. But the problem is, we're going to get really thirsty, right? And we need gigabuckets. And this is where everyone needs to be thinking, not just megabuckets. We've got to be aiming for this into our rural communities. You can start with mine, please, Barry. So, I told you this speech had to be rewritten in a hurry. So what we want is a fat pipe into our village, and then we, or someone we choose in different villages where there might not be quite such a big society approach, and there are people in this room today, like Next Genus and Lloyd and loads of others, who can do that now for communities who want it. And then we will choose whether or not we want to dig in fibre to our homes, or we use wireless, or whatever. And the point is that... okay, the point is that there is, we call it FireWire for a reason, fibre wireless. FireWire pie, there is a bit of this pie for every single person. Whether you're BT, or you're the regional development agency, or the county council, or the consumer, or the small business, or the school, or the GP, there's a bit of that pie for every single person, and we should be getting involved. But in places like this, our average wage around here is 63% of the national average. We're pretty poor, and there's not going to be very much money to spend, so this is why we have to remember these. We've got one bite of that pie, and we've got to make it good. Because if my children come back, that network has to be in there, and it has to work for them in 20 years' time or whenever. God, I hope they don't come home. I really do. There are loads of people who can do this, and I just want to mention satellite. Although it won't fill that bucket, in the interim period until we get the gigabuckets, there are people who can do satellite, and Beyond DSL came in at hugely short notice, and for all those of you with laptops and iPads and all the rest of it, they put 2 4 meg satellite dishes on the roof, and it's wirelessed out through Next Genus Wi-Fi in here. So, you know, satellite solutions can be used today to provide, say, a 4 meg connection, which is a lot more than I get, and it's affordable. And we mustn't forget the different technologies. It's all very well saying, you know, we've got to do fibre, etc. But for those people who want it today, there are solutions. I costed it up with a man called Tim Nolte, who's American, and some of you may know how much it would cost to do the whole of Eden with fibre to the home, because of course that's what we're trying to do, ubiquitous to every single farm, however long a track they were down. Wherever they were, how much would it cost? There are 52,500 people in Eden, approximately. But as you'll hear shortly, Daniel's got Olsen sorted, so knock them out. So there's 50,000 people in Eden. And we worked out, ballpark figure, it's £1,000 per person to do. When I mentioned this to one of our councillors, and some of our councillors are here today, he grasped the edge of his chair, because that's 50 million quid to do Eden, but it's 50,000 people, so it's £1,000 a person, and if that network's in for 20 years, at least, that's 50 quid a year, that's £1 a week. It's nothing, absolutely nothing. And for years I've been mentioning this fibre to the home, not fibre, as in 5 quid. Now, if you have it at £1 a week as an investment, you can sort of see where my fibre to the home came from, and I think that we can make it affordable here in Eden and in other rural areas. And Martha Lane Fox says that the average household saves about 600 to 700 quid a year by being online. I'm 8 miles from a loaf of bread, right? I reckon I could probably save quite a lot more than that being online. As we unfortunately had to find out this morning, 86 miles from the hospital. That's a long way. Now, if we can access consultants over video conferencing, that's a huge saving, not just to the NHS, but in our carbon footprint, etc. And therefore, you know, this, okay, 50 million quid, it sounds a lot, But when you start looking at the personal savings that I could make by having access to this sort of technology, and the savings that the NHS and the county council, etc., the education system can make, then it starts looking like, you know, nothing. It really is nothing. So I've got a bit of a wish list, okay, seeing as I'm here. I would like to see proper cooperation and collaboration. It is tempting to bash BT, but, you know, there is a bit of this pie for everybody, and I think we all have a place in that pie, and we should be working together as much as possible from now on in. I would like to see a 5-year waiver on the fibre tax, right? I know it's putting dosh into the Treasury, but it's also stopping us doing things, because we just can't afford that tax, and we can't afford it, as Aidan said earlier, where it's not equitable with what BT are doing. I would like access to existing infrastructure, and I would like affordable prices. In my bucket, this bucket, I need a water supply. If water was too expensive for us to afford, we would all die, and I believe that broadband is as essential as water and air, because it makes the world go round. I think we should start at the outside and work inwards. The further away I live from services, the more I need the internet. We've already heard today that Cumbrians don't half use this stuff. So, final third first. The end game is fibre to the home, and it's fire-wide. It is not bet. If you have to do fibre to the cabinet, well, at least make it part of an upgrade path that you're working towards something else. I think the kilowatt might already be here. I think it's social networking. I think it's human nature. I think just as Stone Age man learnt to talk and invented tools to communicate and to do its job and all the rest of it, I think social networking is that killer app. And as we have more and more tools, live streaming just launched on YouTube a couple of days ago, that's going to eat bandwidth and it's going to eat upload. So we need symmetry, and we need to think about the fact that that killer app, if it's here already, we're going to start getting really, really thirsty. I'd like everyone to just stop talking, and you know what my books are called, don't you? JFDI. I'm not saying it in front of Rory. Let's get on with it. Dave Eisenberg, who I'm absolutely delighted has flown in from America on his way to a picnic in Amsterdam, said to me something over lunch yesterday that I just thought was great. In 1997, I think it was, he received an email with a piece in it entitled, "Who's going to pave my internet super driveway?" And I think the point is, it's all of you. And hopefully we can, JFDI, pretty soon. For those who really, really, really want to get involved today, there's a meeting or a debrief in the North Lakes afterwards. And it's a colloquium, so you come and you talk. And my final thing, because Rory's probably getting fed up already, is come on baby, like my fibre.
Brilliant.